Hags and witches are an essential part of our folklore, fairy tales, and mythologies. However, in Dungeons & Dragons, their stat blocks are often underwhelming, which means using hags as your main villain takes more work as the Dungeon Master. But the new Monster Manual can help us change that, and I'm going to show you how today.
You, come with me.
Of course.
Not you. You.
Now, begin thy magic spell.
Mingling the beautiful, the mysterious, and the hideous. Portrayed in folklore and mythology as malicious supernatural beings associated with witchcraft and dark magic. Often taking the form of decrepit and corrupted women, they display cunning, malice, often bargaining with and preying on the vulnerable to achieve some nefarious goal. Hags and witches appear in various cultures around the world, and they are often used to symbolize the fears and prejudice associated with aging, femininity, and power. Their dual nature as both fierce adversaries and wizened oracles makes them a compelling subject for your RPG games, as they embody the complexities of morality and human nature. How deeply you choose to explore or subvert these themes is up to you and your table, but it's abundantly clear there is a rich tapestry to draw from when using hags in your adventures. Hags often serve as villains, cursing villagers, making dark pacts, or attempting to manipulate the player characters. Hags can also serve as mysterious quest givers, offering assistance or magical knowledge in exchange for something precious. But is there a hidden cost or dark twist to their bargain? Of course, most everyone grew up with fairy tales, and Disney has made a fortune on these stories. So dark hags and sinister witches are potentially the most recognizable villains after the titular dragons our game is named after. And that's Michelle Pfeiffer in Stardust, probably my favorite depiction of a hag and her coven. If you haven't seen that movie, you got to. It's got both Superman and Daredevil. Yes, that's Charlie Cox and Henry Cavill right there. I love using hags in my campaign, but they often fall short when it comes to the actual combat mechanics of their stat blocks. And they're mostly low challenge rating monsters. And even in other editions of Dungeons & Dragons, I don't remember a lot of great monster design when it comes to hags. However, the 2024 Monster Manual does a really great job with the Arch Hag stat block and makes it a powerful and formidable foe that you can really run against your players. See, in previous editions, I would have to mostly rely on the storytelling and the encounter design to make hags scary. But then when they got into combat, they would really have to rely on minions to make the combat a challenge. Now, this new Arch Hag actually gives you a solid, big, bad, evil hag that you can use in your games. The other thing the new Monster Manual does is it gives this interesting idea list for the Arch Hag's anathema. Now, the new Arch Hag can't be killed unless it's in the presence of its anathema. So you can drop it to 0 hit points, and it's just going to disappear and eventually return again later, unless you can use its anathema when you defeat it. So these anathemas give us interesting story building tools to help design our villain and our campaign and the faction that this hag is going to use in your game. So I'm going to go through most of this list, but not all of it, because YouTube, I can't make the video too long, or you're not going to watch it anyway. So I'm going to focus on the ones that I found most inspiring and most interesting, and in the comments below respond as my ideas inspire you, and see how your ideas can inspire me. And that's actually the beauty of this community, as we help and inspire each other to have more interesting, fun, and exciting games at our tables. So if you like that kind of thing, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's take a look at these anathemas and how they can inspire us to weave our hags and evil witches into our campaigns. The thread from the Lady of Pain's robe. Now, a thread seems pretty insignificant, but when you realize it comes from the powerful extra-dimensional creature, the Lady of Pain, then maybe this thread is actually a powerful magic item, or maybe it represents a powerful pact or agreement. The Lady of Pain hails from the ultimate multiversal melting pot, the extra-dimensional city of Sigil. So the players might have to travel to Sigil to get this thread from the Lady of Pain, or they could encounter any creature who's traveled to the city of Sigil and they have interacted with the Lady of Pain. So if you're like me and you combine multiple small adventures into one large sandbox, then you could take the big bad from any of those other adventures and have them possess this thread from the Lady of Pain. Or you could connect this to one of your player characters' backstories. So maybe you have a warlock at the table whose patron is this Arch Hag that they are trying to defeat. And that Arch Hag has a pact with the Lady of Pain. So now that warlock character removes their pact with the Arch Hag and replaces it with a pact with the Lady of Pain. So while we're talking about hags, let me suggest a Fae-themed adventure that you could use with any of these hag ideas that I'm throwing out in this video. By friends of the channel Latecomer Games. The Hedge Maze of the Crescent Queen is a dark yet whimsical Fae-themed adventure where the player characters have angered the daughter of the dead moon god. She's thrown you into a hedge maze and you must escape before a memory-stealing curse turns you into a walking husk. It's got crazy Fae-themed monsters, wacky magic items, gambling rules, memory loss mechanics, and fairy markets where you can trade stuff mortals never thought could be traded. Depending on your style of play, you can run this as a linear adventure with easy prep, which is great for new GMs, but you can also run it in a sandbox mode to embrace the full randomness and chaos that the ever-changing Hez Maze offers. It's also super affordable at only $10 for the entire adventure, and if you'd like a great preview, there are 2 one-shots on their YouTube channel, where you can see yours truly and a bunch of other creators test drive this fantastic and thrilling adventure. It released this week on Kickstarter, so you can pledge today. Our next anathema is a star pulled from the sky. So this could have a very fairy tale theme or sci-fi theme, depending on which way you want to go. So you could take this and steal ideas straight out of the movie Stardust, or you could use the AD&D adventure When a Star Falls. And that adventure was recently updated for 5th edition as part of the Quest for the Infinite Staircase anthology. So you could just use that adventure for your fallen star, or you could also use the Expedition to Barrier Peaks adventure, which is a very sci-fi themed adventure, and have your fallen star be something more alien. Next on the list is the worst pun in the multiverse. Now, I'm not a fan of puns, so I could definitely see how the worst pun could be someone's anathema. And you could certainly have fun with your players as they try to come up with the worst puns they could. However, this pun has to be bad enough that it actually causes harm to the Arch Hag. So let's say there's a devil, and the devil knows this pun, but if he speaks it out loud, it's going to cause damage, maybe use the mechanics of a power word kill spell. So the player characters would then have to find a creature so alien, so foreign, that they don't understand puns. Therefore, they wouldn't be harmed by this thing. So the players go find like an Illithid or a Githyanki who doesn't get puns because they're alien. And the devil has to whisper the pun into the Githyanki's ear, and then the Githyanki whispers the pun to the hag. So the players never actually find out what the pun is. It just remains this elusive mystery of the worst pun in the multiverse. But you see how that could also be a very layered quest from the Devil Prince to the Githyanki to the Arch Hag. A gift from the hag's twin sister is the next thing on the list, and that raises a ton of questions. What or who is this sister, and what is the gift in question? Is the sister just another hag? So the players have to outwit and manipulate one hag in order to get a gift to combat and defeat the other? Or is the sister something completely different? And was the hag something completely different long, long ago? Maybe these 2 sisters didn't start off as hags. Maybe one of them chose the dark path and evil magic and became the Arch Hag, while the other one chose a different path to become maybe a dryad or a fairy queen. So let's say the Fae Queen has a number of enemies, and she becomes like a patron to the adventuring party. So the players have to go defeat the Fae Queen's enemies before she's willing to give the gift to her sister. And what if this gift isn't something tangible? What if it's emotional? What if it's love or forgiveness? Or dare I say, the power of friendship? What kind of role play could you get up to when your players have to talk a Fae Queen into forgiving her hag sister? A flower that only blooms when time stops is the next anathema on the list, and this gives me all sorts of timey-wimey ideas. Now, let's say these flowers, since they only bloom when time stops, can't be found on the material plane. However, time works differently in the Fae realm, so maybe time moves slow enough that in the Fae realm, you can just catch a glimpse of these flowers when they bloom. And they bloom so fast and then wither so fast that it happens all in an instant. So there's really not much to see other than a simple explosion of color. So in the Fae Wild, these flowers are called pop-ees. Not poppies, but pop as an explosion. They explode with color for just a brief second, which is actually them blooming and withering super fast. So in the Fae Wild, they would actually be able to find a poppy flower bush, and then they would have to find some other way to stop time. So tracking down a powerful wizard where they could learn the time stop spell. Then they would have to figure out how to cast the time stop spell at just the right moment while they have these flowers in the presence of the Arch Hag, including both the Arch Hag and the flower in the radius of the spell effect. Now we're actually taking this anathema and using it for a tactical interaction in the combat itself. Now remember, you can't defeat the Arch Hag unless she is in the presence of her anathema. So it's very possible that creatures throughout time have tried to stop this hag and thought they were successful. And that brings us to the next anathema on the list, which is one of the hag's teeth. So let's have fun with this and create an elaborate backstory for our hag. Let's say long ago, she plagued a village, and a group of adventurers thought they had defeated her, and their evidence of her defeat was this tooth. Now, those same adventurers, years later, die battling a powerful dragon, and those adventurers are celebrated by the village, which the village is now grown and is more like a city, and those people of the city celebrate the adventurers by building an elaborate memorial shrine to entomb the adventurers' dead bodies. So now the hag's tooth is enshrined in this dungeon, this memorial tomb where the bodies of these adventurers have been laid to rest. And there's a series of puzzles and traps to prevent grave robbers from getting these old adventurers' magic items. So now your players have to brave their way through this dungeon to find the hag's tooth in order to use it to defeat the Arch Hag. And since you made it to the end of the video, I saved the best one for last. At least this is my favorite of the anathemas. The bones of the hag's first love. What I like about this is it gives us a potential to do a redemption story here. Who is this first love? Who is the hag? What did the hag used to be before she was a hag? And this love that she had, what is that all about? And the players, in their quest to find these bones, can learn all those pieces of the puzzle, and that helps this become a redemption story. So sure, the players still fight the hag, and you get to use all the Arch Hag's cool stat block abilities, but in the end, when she drops to 0 hit points, she's not dead. She's redeemed. Her spirit is set free from whatever dark curse she and her former lover entered into. And now the two of them are free to move on to the afterlife and love each other once again. This allows you to move away from some of the stereotypes about witches and hags. It's not just powerful woman is evil. There's more to the story here, and you get to explore that with the player characters. So the story could be that this woman and her lover attempted to stop a great evil, and they were able to. They saved the world. They were heroes. But the evil they stopped corrupted their bodies. And now she is a hag, and he is a lich. Lich. And the players have to not only defeat these evils, but they have to free the heroes from the evil that corrupted them. So these are ways you can really spice up your Dungeons and Dragons campaign by thinking beyond the stat blocks, beyond the cliches, beyond the stereotypes, and really creating interesting stories for you and your players to tell at the table. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time on the Dire Den.